trouble hearing you, but certainly a nuclear attack by terrorists is something you have to take into account as a real possibility, no doubt about that.
Could be coming next.
It could be.
If they don't realize that, I'm telling it, on air that the next attack will be a nuclear attack. There's no ifs and buts about it.
I think that's a very great possibility.
So how we can get the American public to be aware that the destruction is forthcoming?
Well, it's very hard because the media is not interested in telling the truth about these things. And so really the only thing we can do is like what Nabil is doing right now, and offering an alternative media that tells the truth to the American people. And so, this will have a small audience, but the people who hear it can go and tell other people about it, and maybe it will ultimately have some positive good. It's not a perfect situation, but it's really the only thing that we have as a possibility right now is simply to continue to tell the truth, and I hope that that people will understand the truth in sufficient numbers before it's too late.
That's true. Actually, you heard about an epidemic of cholera somewhere in the world here. Those people didn't expect it, and if an epidemic comes to the United States, we have to do something about it before it spreads again here.
Yes.
And I think, as a prophylactic measure, something has to be done to restrict, these people from moving in that direction. Europe has started it, and I think the United States will follow.
Yes, you may well be right, indeed.
You agree with me on that one?
Yes.
Okay, and one thing, we all looking forward to see, certain instructions or directions that we, the American public, especially those people who have already suffered from Islam and who have already lived among them for decades and decades, that we can progress. So we're looking basically for press releases coming from the Euro organization, Act for America, and other organizations.
Yes, most people aren't aware that there are non-Muslims from the Islamic world who have suffered under the rule of Islamic law, and they know what Islamic law is all about. And certainly we do need to get a wider audience for all of you from the Islamic world who can tell directly what happens there. And this is yet another aspect of what we need to do and what kind of word we need to get out. Absolutely.
I mean, giving the Armenians in the last century, I think should have been enough in the history to explain basically what Islam is all about.
Yes, indeed. The problem is getting, as always, as you yourself noted, the problem is getting people to listen.
And I think the Vatican have already moved towards doing something in the Middle East, because Christians in the Middle East are becoming a target, and they are decreasing in numbers, not by massacre, but immigration, and by expulsion and extortion, and all of the above,
Yes.
So I believe, the American public have to be aware of what's going on with Europe, with the Vatican, with all of the world, basically.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I couldn't agree more.
All right. Thank you so much for answering the question.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Spencer, Dr. Zach took just a little bit of time. We back again to the First Amendment in our Constitution, in the American Constitution, which is freedom of speech.
Yes.
I need to know, according to your vision, what's happening here? Does the Constitution been changed, or there is no more freedom of speech? Because we heard in the old news last week that one of the journalists, just he said his opinion, about what he's feeling from what's feeling about Muslim people, and he been determined from his journal, and his director or his boss said, "I'm not regretting that I fired him." What's going on here? I don't know. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember the name of the journalist, but I am sure you do.
Juan Williams.
Juan Williams, yes.
Yes, there is a war against the freedom of speech. The Organization of the Islamic Conference, which is 57 Muslim governments around the world, 56 states, and the Palestinian Authority, is dedicated to working to curtail the freedom of speech in the West and to stigmatizing any honest talk about Islam and jihad, so that people are afraid to speak about it, and it's even illegal to speak honestly about Islam and jihad. And so this is a concerted effort that they are continuing, and they have mounted a large-scale effort to stigmatize any honest talk about the Islamic jihad threat as hate speech or bigotry. And so the West has to a great degree internalized these attitudes, and we see that with this firing of Juan Williams, that he can't even speak honestly about being nervous if a Muslim is on the airplane with him, which is a perfectly reasonable thing given the fact that there have been jihad attacks by Muslims on airplanes, and these were done in the name of Islam by believing Muslims, referring to Islamic texts and teachings to justify them. It's not in the least surprising or offensive that he would think such a thing. And so the idea that this is an offense for which he must be fired is simply in the service of this larger agenda to intimidate people and frighten them into being afraid to speak honestly about Islam and jihad, so that they will be absolutely quiet, and we will be mute and thus defenseless against the advancing jihad threat.
It seems to me that the American Constitution, who's been created 300 years ago, needs to be changed, because at the time of making the Constitution, there is no threat from Islam, there is no terrorism, there is no Islam like 3 or 4 million Muslims in America needs to occupy the whole country, either land occupation or brain or mind occupation. I don't know what's going on here in the United States, but this makes me to raise this point. Is there any way to ask the people or the congressmen or the senators to change the constitution to be updated for what's going on?
Well, the Constitution can always be amended, and there are a number of amendments that have already been added to it throughout the history of the United States. I'm not sure that it needs to be done personally. I think that if we understand that there is a political aspect to Islam as well as a religious one, and that the political aspect of Islam is at variance with the constitutional freedoms of freedom of speech and the freedom of conscience, the equality of rights of all people before the law, if it's understood that Islamic law contradicts those things and is a political agenda, then I think we can fight against it without doing anything to change the Constitution being necessary at all.
Okay, this makes me just have a little thinking here that America is going back and Europe is going forward. Because in Europe something happened nowadays, or last 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's very good, positive things. First thing, that the cases against the senator or against the parliament, Great Fielders, I don't know if I'm saying the name right or wrong, had been dropped because the judge said that there is nothing is here shows that the parliament hate Islam. That's his opinion, and he dropped the whole case. Number 2, Turkey, all the world, they singing, they try to tell us that the Turkey is the most liberal country. how come Turkey is the most liberal country, and the president of Germany, when he went over there, he asked the Turkish authority to give religious freedom to Christians. That's number one. And last 2 years, our patriarch Bartholomew, when he been host in 60 minutes, he said, we've been crucified every day about 10 times. How come that Turkey is a liberal and being discriminated the Christians? Do you have any comment on the liberal country like Turkey?